Today we are taking a first look at the brand new MX Creative Console from Logitech. And if you are anything like me, always trying to figure out how to speed up your digital workflow, you're gonna like this product. We'll go through what the MX Creative Console is, what problem it's trying to solve, how I've integrated this into my workflow, and if you watch to the end, I'll tell you how you can get this for about 20 bucks. It is a $200 console. So to get these two pieces, $200, but watch to the end and you might get it for about 20 bucks. That part is very dope. Okay, let's talk about the problem. Like why do we need this Creative Console in the first place? And it is that in our digital workflow, our programs have become so complex, but yet we still just have two input devices, keyboards and a mouse. So when I go into something like Lightroom and I'm editing a bunch of photos, I have all of these digital sliders on the right-hand side of the screen. So as I go through my images, I have to look over to the sliders, grab one like exposure, look back at my image, dial in the exposure, look back over, grab my highlights, look back over here, adjust the height. I'm constantly taking my eyes off of my image to reach those digital inputs. And that's actually the biggest problem. The biggest problem with how we work in our digital workflows is taking our eyes off of the image. Now, I solved this a long time ago with this guy, the Loupedeck Plus. I picked this thing up years ago for Lightroom specifically. It turned all of my digital sliders into tangible physical dials so that I could sit here and stare at my images. I would kind of get my fingers on the main dials that I used, stare at my image, and I could sit there and adjust all these parameters and go bam, adjust parameters, bam, adjust. I never took my eyes off my image to look at my sliders because my sliders were right here. And I mainly use this for Lightroom, but then Loupedeck came out with something called the Loupedeck CT, which was a more simplified but also able to be more complex version of that original Loupedeck. Yeah, I've only got 6 dials on here now, but these are all LCD screens that would customize based on the program that I was in. So contextual based buttons where everything on here would change based on the program I was in. Now, this thing is amazing. There's 2 big problems. One is it's $500 and it's a very complex device. Like to set this thing up, to get it dialed in for your workflow, it was a lot of work. And I feel like I really only used a very simplified version of this, which made me so dang happy when one of my favorite companies, who I use their mice and keyboards, Logitech, who bought Loupedeck last year and created this, the MX Creative Console. It's a console that's actually 2 consoles, the MX Creative Keypad and the MX Creative Dial. They basically took the CT and made like a more straight to the point. I don't want to say simplified because I've been using this as my main professional workflow device and it's been incredible, but it's also much more approachable. Like anybody can use this, bring it into their digital workflow, and it will speed things up for you. First, let's jump into the MX Keypad. Now, the MX Keypad, again, it's contextual based. Let me jump here. This right here is the MX Creative Keypad. 9 buttons on there with LCD screens. You can see 2 buttons here, so I can switch through pages. And each of those screens changes, those buttons, what they do changes based on what screen I'm in and based on what program I'm in. So watch, and as I flip over to Lightroom, it switches to all of my Lightroom. As I switch over to Premiere, all of my Premiere and Photoshop. So physical buttons for my digital inputs on my computer. That is what the keypad is for. And I can have different pages on there. So these buttons here are cycling me through all the different pages that I can set up. Now the dial pad is very cool. If I'm just in like on Finder or maybe I'm in Chrome, I can use this little scroll wheel to scroll up and down. If I'm in something like Photoshop or I'm in Premiere Pro, this now becomes my zoom. So I can just reach over and zoom in, zoom out while I'm using another tool. I don't have to flip to the zoom tool, click on the plus, and then use my cursor to click in, and then use option cursor to zoom back out. Now zoom is just on here. If I'm in Premiere Pro, now this is my toggle, and I can toggle through my timeline just with this dial. Again, everything is contextually based on what I'm doing in the computer, this Creative Console changes to help me speed up that workflow. The MX Creative Keypad, by the way, is plugged into your computer via USB-C, and the dial pad is wireless. So there's some times where I want both of these on one side of my computer, and there's sometimes, like if I'm in Lightroom, where I want the dial on this side because I want to be using both of them at the same time. Right hand on the dial, left hand on my tools, and be able to just fly through images. Oh, also because I set up these two buttons down here, I customized them. So this now is right arrow and left arrow. So I never even have to take my hand off of this. I can dial things in and then just go boop, next image, dial it in, boop, next image. And right here, I can do, this is also undo and redo right here. And all of this can be customized to your heart's desire. It does come like pre-set up for the Adobe apps. This is launching for all the Adobe apps right now, which again, if you are an Adobe user, you are the one that might get this for about 20 bucks. But let's go into the Logic Options app and I can just show you kind of what some of this customization looks like. In here, you'll see I have my mouse. And if you know like the MX Master Series mice, you'll know like I can customize all these different things to anything I want. It's just like that. So if I go back over here, here's the MX Creative Keypad. Right here is like my home screen. This is like default. If I open my computer in the morning, this is what my Creative Keypad will look like. And on here, you'll see I can tap that button. I go straight to my YouTube channel. That button, I go to my YouTube backend so I can respond to you guys' comments. That button, I go over to Artlist to download some dope music. The middle button gets me to Chrome. This button opens my Gmail. That opens a new Finder window. That button takes a screenshot. That changes my brightness. And this button right here starts a new screen record. Things that I do all the time. And then I can quickly just page over and now I have all the apps that I open on the regular. So everything, again, like a physical little keypad for everything that I do most. The whole concept here is to take digital inputs and just create like a single button that does them for you. And back in this customizer, you'll see these two buttons are the page buttons. So if I go over, I can set up multiple pages. I can set up a third or fourth, fifth page. And then up here, I can go in and decide what these buttons are going to be based on what app I'm in. Again, like I said, at launch, it's all the Adobe apps, but they're going to launch for every single app you can imagine. And there will be a marketplace where I could go in there and I could set up all my profiles, put them on the marketplace, and then you guys could download them and have the same buttons on your desk that I have on my desk, which is rad. So again, in Lightroom, you'll see I have shadows, exposure, highlights right in the middle, blacks and whites on the bottom, temperature and tint, top and bottom here, copy all settings, paste all settings. These are the buttons, like the 9 things that I do constantly. Even just copy all settings, paste all settings is usually Shift Command C, Shift Command V. And I do that over and over and over again. And now I just go tap, 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 tap. I'm serious. If you're a Loop Deck user, you know like how cool this is. If you're not at all and you get this, you're gonna be like, it's like, I hate saying game changer. This is literally a game changer though in your digital work. If you have a digital workflow and you take some of those things and make them tangible. Okay, so let me jump into something like Lightroom real quick. Here in this is my daughter. Here's some cute pictures I took of my daughters. So even here, you're gonna see that if I'm in the library module of Lightroom, these are the tools that I have on the keypad if I'm in the library module. And just by switching to the develop module, the tools shift. So these are my develop module tools. I'm going to keep one hand on the left side of my screen, one hand on the right side, and able to flip through images, click on exposure, dial in the exposure, and then with this hand, just be able to quickly pop through images, pop off of exposure, adjust highlights, pop over to shadows, change shadows a little bit. I want that image a little warmer and a little pinker. Boom, now onto the next image. This is how quickly I can work because again, like I'm not going back to my mouse. I'm not moving my mouse over to each slider individually. I'm just staying locked in and just staring at the image. Like I never look over at those sliders. I'm just clicking this, next, dial that, boom. This is a much more efficient way to work, especially if you're doing like thousands of images. If you're a wedding or portrait photographer, like I was for 15 years, boy, do I wish I had this back then. And then same thing over in Premiere Pro, I have all of my main tools that I'm constantly using during my edit all in here. I now can use the dial to scrub through my timeline, and I can use the roller wheel to zoom in and zoom out on my timeline. This is like, it's such a game changer in your digital workflow that like, I want you to get it so badly. And if you are already an Adobe Creative Cloud subscriber, like I am, I pay $60 a month to Adobe. Every month, $60 to Adobe. Super annoying. But if you are too, you're paying $60 a month to Adobe, and when you buy the MX Creative Console from Logitech, they give you a 3-month credit to Adobe Creative Suite, even if you're already a member. It's not like for new members only kind of thing. Like I got 3 months to Adobe Creative Suite when I picked this thing up. So that's $180 right there. This is a $200 setup. You spend $200, you save $180. You get this for $20. If you are currently, or you want to be, an Adobe Creative Suite member, you are going to get the Logitech MX Creative Console for $20. It was like the main thing. When they told me that, I was like, wait, so you're going to spend $200 but save one, like it's $20, right? And they were like, yeah, it's $20. And I was like, why wouldn't everybody that's an Adobe Creative Suite member purchase this setup? I can't think of a dang reason why you wouldn't. I would pay the $200. I mean, I paid the $500 for this one, and now that one is doing everything that I need. Like everything that I used on here is now in there because there was so much that I just didn't use. So everything that I actually used is in here. I would easily pay $200 for it, and you can get it for $20. It's awesome. Again, though, I want to know your thoughts. If you are someone that has a digital workflow that you're constantly trying to speed up, let me know your thoughts. If you're somebody who already has like some of their MX series of devices, let me know your thoughts, because boy is this thing great. And this thing is like an extension of this thing. You're gonna like it. You have questions, comments, throw them down below. I will get them answered for you. The Logitech MX Creative Console. Again, if you're an Adobe member, $20. I'll see you soon.